Good morning. Happy Saturday. Welcome, Natural Health Resources, here on YouTube and Instagram for our Saturday morning live show. I am a little delayed because I was trying to set up Facebook, and for some reason it's not functional. And my lighting's really bad in here. So I apologize, everybody. I'm having some technical difficulties today. So welcome, everybody. YouTube's looking really washed out. So hold on, you guys. Okay. So let's see. Just turn that down. Okay. All right. Sorry. The joy of live shows. Okay. So welcome to all of you. Today, our live show, I really want to answer a lot of questions. I've been kind of trying to assess where everybody is with the reopening, and a lot of questions surrounding what do we do, and should we go out? Is it safe? What do we do when we go out? So I really have put together 7 kind of core questions for you to ask yourselves, you, your families. This is related to you going back to your businesses. Maybe you own a business like I do, and we are trying to figure out, do we reopen? Kids and summer programs and schools and things like that. So I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of information because we have a lot of news to cover today. And then I'm going to go through 7 questions that we are asking ourselves. I've written them down, I've typed them up, and I've got them that we are going to go over today. So welcome to all of you joining. We have Pat and Ron, who are our moderators. They're on this morning, and we want to thank Pat and Ron for their commitment to keeping us moderated and free of some of our spammers. So let's dig into some news. So today, I really want to kind of highlight a few things. We are at 4.5 million cases here in the world, and we are at 1.473 million cases in the US. Our death toll is at 88,237 individuals. New projections are expecting that number to be at 100,000 by June 1st, which means the reopening plays a role into this. And how do we minimize our risk factors? So the reopening essentially is happening to all states except for 2 states. And Massachusetts and Connecticut are the only ones that are not having some sort of reopening this weekend. It looks like YouTube is buffering again, so I apologize, friends. We also have a situation where, we had federal guidelines about how to roll out and reopen. And the first phase, the beginning, it wasn't even a phase, it was the gating process. It required that states had to meet at minimum 2 weeks of a hold or a decrease. They also had to meet certain testing thresholds and other things like that. Well, there are 9 states who meet those requirements. Only 9, not the 41 plus states that are in total just violation of these regulations. So the states are Oregon, Montana, North Dakota, Wyoming, Utah, West Virginia, Tennessee, Hawaii, and Alaska. And so if you live in any of the state has met the requirements, either you guys have hit a peak and you've kind of threshed, there's kind of a line where you've hit and maintained it, or you're showing a decrease, but you are not, 9 states only are not showing an incline. So there's other things that are wrapped up into this. And I actually want to have a really intense conversation, or not intense, but a more thorough conversation about masks, because there are a lot of viewers and folks in our communities that are mask haters. The masks now symbolize our liberty, symbolizes the government takeover of our lives. I'm not going to go political. That is not my channel. And I'm going to ask any of you who feel that you're triggered, this might be a time to leave my channel. Feel free to unsubscribe. I really, at the end of the day, actual information. And I am going to be to communicate scientifically founded, proven data and research that can help you make sense for your own health and wellness, just about ourselves, entire world, and our communities. And there are certain responsibilities we each have with the liberties that come our way. So I want to share with you and this, I'm going to tell you, this has been published, just like I mentioned yesterday. There are research articles that are being published on the research servers, and they're still not at the phase where they've been peer reviewed, because that time frame often takes 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks or more. And so the good news is we are getting a lot of data that we can start to extrapolate and extract information to help us make healthy decisions. So I'm going to share with you, this is a combination of professionals at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, University of Cambridge in the UK, École de Guerre Économique in Paris, and then also University College in London. And then there's apparently a research institute, Family Federation of Finland. So this is an international combined report. And the abstract basically looks at the universal wearing of masks, limitations to the transmissibility of the virus. So essentially what they do is the question and the assessment of how well are masks effective? Are they effective? Are they helping countries limit exposure rate and lowering the transmissions? And essentially what they have founded is that what they're calling universal masking impact, or universal masking model. Universal meaning a country has deemed that they're going to require masks to be worn. I want to share with you some of the data, okay? Because I think, again, there's a lot of misinformation. There are people who are spewing non-factually founded BS. I won't say the word because I could get edited here on YouTube. But people are saying, oh, you get reinfected and you lose your oxygen levels. All of that is false. That is not founded. I want to share with you data. Okay, so factual information that highlights the fact that there are countries that require masking. So the masking culture is, so they have different lines here. It's by country or region. And then daily growth, the kind of public acceptance, masks, the reduction. Sure, is this a community that's used to seeing people wearing masks? And then universal masking. This line here, universal masking, that started on February 19th. These were countries that are in the green, and there are a few down here. And then the last line is strict lockdown. Did they have any type of quarantine, stay-at-home orders? The orange is partial. The red is yes. So if you notate, the countries who have masking culture and actually have requirements of masking, some of them had partial closures, but they did not have the mandatory, the red. So all these countries, and we're down here at the bottom, and we have one of the least acceptances of masks. We're down here, but there were countries like Macau and areas of like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangdong, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, Japan, Estonia, Slovakia, South Korea, Slovenia. And if you guys watched my show, I think about a week ago, we were talking about vitamin D, and I believe Slovakia on the highest in terms of folks that have vitamin D levels, but also they're one of the least hit countries. So not only are these individuals eating diets full of mushrooms, I've actually had somebody highlight some of the cultural heritage foods that they're consuming. This one kind of comforty, brothy, it's almost like a chicken stew, but it has mushrooms and a whole bunch of things that are high in vitamin D. Well, you have that, plus they had masking, universal masking. So I highlight this because it is going to be a necessary part of our culture. Necessary because it is proven to be impactful in lowering transmission. It does not necessarily per se protect you, but it protects people around you. And at the end of the day, we don't have the degree of testing we need. In fact, I have some reports. Texas and Georgia are on the lower end of testing on a daily basis. We see Maryland tested less than, I think it was 3,500 individuals on a daily basis. That is a pretty decent job. The challenge is they're out of these little cotton swabs. And so a lot of states have made consortiums and are buying tests on their own, but lacking materials. But for instance, Georgia and Texas are two states that have been in reopening for over 2 weeks now. And today marks the 10th week of our family being in a quarantine, stay-at-home state. It also marks 10 weeks since I've been bringing everyday daily live shows to you all. I took 1 day off for Mother's Day and 1 day off for Easter. So I've hosted 68 live shows. In every show, I highlight, safety, I highlight information and data and research. And I really hope that the modeling impact showcases the way that we can use masks to help limit potentially another lockdown. Because if we don't, I think we need to be prepared, friends, that is something that will happen again. And people don't like masks, supposedly it's not worth it, like Christine. Well, Christine says, I don't like masks, but they are worth it. So that is absolutely true. Do we like always eating our vegetables and taking our multivitamins? I mean, we're grown adults and our children need good modeling. This is about our community and keeping those who are at risk and vulnerable, decreasing their risk. We are also limping along with the lack of information. We don't have all the testing methods. We are slowly getting contact tracing within each of the states, counties, and local municipalities, but it's not at the level it needs to be. And so today, I'll go over more news, but today's core video topic is surrounded or focused on 7 questions you need to be asking yourselves before you go to a store to shop, before you go get a clinical service, a mechanical service, any type of mobility outside of your home, even socializing. There are questions you need to ask yourselves, and these questions and the answers will help you be safer, given the fact that we don't have an appropriate level of understanding how many of us in our local communities are walking around asymptomatic. We are potentially going to come into contact with super spreaders, and there will be outbreaks. And that's a reality because we are lacking in the compliance of regulations. My life part _3 says, people just like to rebel against when others tell them what to do, despite it being for the better good. You're totally right. And that is, it's also fueling a lot of angst people have. I will tell you, I'm getting the angst directed at me. I'm a messenger of fact and truthful, scientifically founded information, and people are going off on me. They're posting negative comments. They're making up stories. They're emailing me conspiracy theories that are completely bogus. And the other day I had a spat with a nurse. I don't even know if she really is, but because anybody can say anything, right, on social media. But this woman who posted a picture of her and her kids at a new business, a loose soap shop, having a party, the new owner of the soap shop not wearing a mask, within her face is here, a child's face is within literally inches. Nobody's wearing gloves. There's no social distancing. And I'm sure as a new business owner, you have rent, you've got all your capital invested, but how safe is that? And that is going to be our day-to-day lives. We are going to encounter people who don't care. And we're going to encounter people who want to be anti the I don't want to say this, but against the masses. They are not going to follow suit. There's going to be all these excuses and reasons for them to not Adhere to safety guidelines. This is about safety. This is not about politics. It's about our health and safety. And it's getting all muddied. And so I've just about had it, friends, with folks that are just blasting off and spewing false information. So if you are going to do any of that, any of you guys watching on the replay, feel inclined to do that, just know I will be commenting back, I will delete you, and I will block you. I'm just not going to tolerate that type of hogwash on my channel. That's not what we're about. So, and for all of you, that's my little rant, but I just felt it necessary. It just really peeved me when people are just completely negligent for facts and information. And this is just one of multitude of other research articles. And, the whole fact that this is not founded, they've been doing research, and I've highlighted it over the course of the last 10 weeks. The University of Nebraska has been running an assortment of mask-related safety tests. And what they've identified, there are certain masks that are safer. There's certain material that's a lot healthier. The insert to have, one of these 5-layer carbon filters, it can turn an everyday sewn mask that my friend Sarah makes. And by the way, I've got those links down below. She's selling masks every day on Etsy. They've got an adjustable kind of thing over the nose and adjustable ties so it can really cinch in. And that just is really critical that we stay above board and we really focus on protecting. That is a protective for yourself, but also it sets a social tone. And one of the things that this highlighted, and I think it's so impactful too, I have to go back to this page, where, the awareness, the kind of social, masking culture, the social acceptance of masking here, right here, masking culture. A lot of these are in green. You know what? They did all these things, and there are some mandates. And some of these didn't even have any type of social distancing or stay-at-home quarantine orders because they followed the rules. They wore the mask. They were used to it from flu and cultural aspects. When I lived in Japan, everybody wore masks. This is 20 years ago, actually over 20 years ago. Wow, it seems like a long time. But, like when people get sick, they put masks on because they're going to protect other people. So I just feel like we have this selfishness that's just spewing, and it's affecting the health and wellness of our nation. So anyway, Lori says Sarah's masks are the best because if you have glasses, you can breathe and you don't steam up when you tighten the wire over your nose. And that was actually a feature I asked her to put in because I was sampling different tests, and it can fog you out. But again, when it fits right, you are minimizing. I mean, just think about like when you're fogging your glasses, that's your respiratory particles. That's your contagiousness, right? When you cinch that down, you minimize that outspread. And if you already are sick, you can't make yourself more sick. If a virus or bacteria has invaded your body, it's already doing its cellular changes. It's implanting DNA and it's taken over, and there's a war and battle in your immune system. You can't make that sick. And if you wash and sanitize your mask, you're not going to be promoting bacteria. You're not going to be spewing mold and all that stuff. It's just BS. This mask thing, I'm over it. Okay, so anyway, back to my news. I wrote down on my notes, mask anger. And I have stories about that. So there's a Target employee. I mean, these are, I'm a business owner. That's the other thing that I have in the back of my head. I've had retail. I have had thousands of customers and patients. I have an ownership to employees and consumers that frequent and shop my facilities. Target employee as asked an individual, because Target, it's a rule. You go into Target, you need to wear a mask. If you don't wear a mask, you don't get to go to shop at Target. It's like dealing with my 4-year-old. If you don't put your toys away, then you're not going to play with those toys tomorrow. Oh, you want to play with those toys? Then you put them away. Or, oh, you want a little piece of your chocolate turmeric, supplement? Well, if you don't brush your teeth, you don't get your chocolate treat. So that is how I feel like we have to address some of these adults. And Target did that. And one of their female employees escorted a non-mask wearing customer out, and he got into a scuffle with her and broke her arm. We have had customers punching cashiers in the faces, in their face. There was one story I read, a cigar, a gentleman wanted to buy a cigar, wasn't wearing a mask. He punched the female cashier 3 times in the face. Is that absolutely necessary? A bus passenger was shot because the bus driver told an individual getting on the bus that he needed to wear a mask. He got upset and shot a passenger. Didn't shoot the bus driver. He saw a random passenger. I'm sure there's more to that story, but regardless, security guard was killed. I reported that almost 2 weeks ago. Yesterday, a New York police officer was struck by a 22-year-old female who refused to wear a mask. And so she was arrested because of violence towards a police officer. There's just this craziness going on. And that is just a little snippet of stories. And there's a lot of anger. And so that's really key. Donna, you never received your Sarah. Okay. I'm writing that down because she, I know, is on top of all of her orders. So let me just write that down and I'll follow up on it. Oh, what's going on with my pets? All right. I'm writing that down. Donna McWilliams. Okay. Donna, I'm on it. Okay. So, that we need to kind of be aware of, because that is a factor in these 7 questions you have to ask yourself before you enter or shop or do whatever activity. Okay. And yes, people are totally full of hate, and I've never had this experience. So it is directed at me on these lives, after the lives, lots of hate, lots of frustration. I get it. But, we need to get on board as a country, or we're going to be a mess in the fall. Already 100,000 deaths being predicted in less than 2 weeks, and we're at 88,000. That's a lot. That's 12,000 individuals. And actually, that's about so 12,000 individuals. That's about 1,000 deaths a day is what they're projecting until June 1st. That's a lot of loss, and mask wearing could be critical. So we are seeing some reopening happening. NASCAR and golf this weekend are going to begin their activities with no spectators. So at least folks can watch on TV at home. Hopefully not in bars, because they are reopening everywhere. The NFL is reopening their facilities on Tuesday to kind of start the exercise routines and fitness and coordination for NFL. And this is very interesting. One of the things that is being tested here in the US that I reported about 3 weeks ago in Hong Kong, we are testing a antimicrobial surface coating that is showing in lab reports to clear COVID-19 for 90 days, up to 90 days. So this would be something that might be sprayed on and coated on every railing, handle, elevator button, all of these really high frequency, high touch points to minimize the spread. And that's critical because a lot of times people are touching their faces. And that also is another factor. I've heard that a big reason why people don't want to wear a mask or gloves because you're touching your face. And I do want to highlight, what is not getting a lot of credibility and coverage is we still need to cover our eyes. So, our nose and our mouth, if we are wearing masks, is covered, but you can still absorb respiratory droplets in your eyes. And so we know that there's a scattering of particles. And in fact, this actually shows the particles in like the midair. This is what, we can't see it, but this is what the respiratory droplets look like. So somebody sneezes or coughs and it stays. We know it's aerosolized for 2 to 3 hours in the air, especially in an enclosed space. So when that happens, we have a situation where you're walking into the space, you're covering your nose and your mouth, which is awesome, but you need to cover your eyes. And, there's more and more people who are saying, I didn't cover my eyes, and that's how I think I got transmission. So we need to also be very cognizant of some of the issues by covering our eyes. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question. Ex Bluebell says, we don't consider our civil liberties that women have to wear a blouse. So why is a mask against our civil liberties? That's excellent. That's a good argument. Okay, so Anita, yes, I have a lot of passion about it. I'm getting pissed when people are commenting. It's just really annoying. It's just the fact I can't handle like the lack of factual based information. Okay. And Lori Preshot, the best is to stay at home if possible. Absolutely. Totally. And we confuse normalcy bias with our civil liberties. Absolutely. Okay. So that antimicrobial surface coating, that definitely is going to probably get more, we're going to see more information, more research. I highlighted yesterday, we had a call with Gabriel School, the head of the school. He's in a private school, so it's a nursery to 8th grade. It's a small community, but it's such a great school. We love it. We love the culture. It's just a really big, broad school. They're focused on art and science and music and sports and just well-rounded characters. So we talked with the head principal and we talked with the lower school principal. And, pre-K is what Gabriel is in right now, PK4. It is very hard to do virtual schooling, virtual homeschool. My child does not want to do it. He calls it fake school. The teachers are having a hard time figuring out how to use the microphone. Their internet sucks, lots of technical issues. And so we had to address that. And then also, what does the fall look like? Do we disenroll him? Do we re-enroll him? What are our options? And I know a lot of parents are talking about this, regardless of the schools that they're in and ages, even college students are addressing this. And part of the question mark all of us have is what do things look like? And is there any stability that we can rely on? We'll all go back to school, we'll all start, normal lives again. But when we're not wearing masks and we're starting to see, some issues and empirical validity to wearing masks and people still are against it, it's very frustrating. And I know all of us want to get back to some sense of regular programming, the 10 weeks, some of you even more, 12 weeks have been in lockdown and are continuing to be in lockdown. And it's darn isolating. It's frustrating. It's lonely. You feel disconnected from the world. It's like, what day is it? What is it, a weekend or is it a Wednesday? Because they all look the same and we're all staying at home. And I've saved a lot of money on no Starbucks runs, no green juicing runs. I have like this one place I just go in and get green juice and wheatgrass juice, drive through, love it. And gas, I've saved a ton of money, but I'm missing and jonesing out for life. And, work has changed for a lot of us, and being at home, I can't nearly get as much done as I used to. So we're all in this, and I understand it. It's very frustrating. So with that being said, I want to highlight some points to consider, because at this point, if you live in Massachusetts or Connecticut, that right now this really doesn't apply, but you definitely want to think about it. It will when you reopen. The rest of us, some of us are in a wild, wild west when it comes to your state Department of Health and the guidelines. The CDC released some information I highlighted yesterday that was minimally impactful. At least we have some guidance, and at least from a business owner perspective, there are going to be some new measures businesses have to take. And because of that, this is where my points come into play. So I want to kind of go over some 3 key points to consider when you're looking at going out or being out and about or socializing, or even, eating out at a restaurant, or trying to slowly, get your feet wet again into the new normal. So 1, you should assess. The question should be, is this indoors or is it outdoors? At this point, being outdoors with the flow of air is better and safer because of the aerosolized nature of the virus. So we know from studies, this is empirically focused data, it's been proven that in closed spaces that have poor ventilation, like bathrooms and high touch frequency, toilet handles and faucets, and even the walls and ceilings of small enclosed spaces, will showcase greater viral droplet quantities. And so we see greater potential for transmission in enclosed spaces. So question number one is this event, activity, shop, whatever, inside or outside? So that's number one. Number two, what is your potential proximity to employees and customers? So that question is there at least 6 feet of social distancing? Is that facility, place, location able to be 6 feet in spaces? So meaning, let's say this weekend, maybe you're feeling like I need some tacos, or I need, whatever my favorite food is that I haven't been able to get, can't make it home. I want to go and eat at this restaurant. They're doing outdoor dining. So what you want to do is you want to call or look online, search some social sites, check out the Instagram, because people are posting and tagging these places because everybody's starting to get out and about, lots of pride and kind of socializing again. You want to see, is that restaurant, have they removed tables? Are they spacing out the outdoor patio? If you're going to make a choice of indoor or outdoor dining, your better option is outdoor dining. But you want to make sure that they're 6 feet apart from you and the next guest at minimum, sometimes double, depending on, is the outdoor seating, is there like some sort of covering? So it's a little bit more enclosed. Is there a wall that's minimizing airflow? All things we have to consider. So proximity is key. Social, it's all about that 6 feet plus distancing. And then the third is, how much time is this event or outing going to entail? Less is better. So are you running in to get an air filter for your car? Are you running in to get a prescription? Which, by the way, most pharmacies have drive-throughs, and you can actually, like Walgreens, still you can buy things through the drive-through. So you don't even have to run in. But are you planning on going to Target because you're missing, or like Aldi? Like, I'm jonesing for Aldi friends. Am I going to go to Aldi and do all sorts of Aldi fine shopping? No, there's no lingering if there's going to be any type of shopping. You go in, you have your list, you go in, you get your stuff, you leave. So the idea of lingering and staying around, even at a restaurant, do you add dessert in and kind of stay at your table for a long period of time? Ideally, if you wanted to do that, you eat your dinner, you order your dessert, you take your dessert home, and you minimize that time frame. The smaller amount of time that you have in that enclosed space or that area where there's more socializing, the time is the key factor. You lower your risk. And there's actually data that places with no social distancing, there's 35 times more potential for spread. So how this plays in is we all just have to realize that not every business, and I see some comments on here, where I work, not where I work, about 1 feet. Okay, so in that instance, there are some places that won't be able to do this for whatever reason. Space, our school, they're talking about and looking at the blueprint of their place, of the space. And they have an auditorium. They're talking about splicing and dicing the auditorium and changing the flow of student traffic. Companies are having to assess this. And if they aren't, they are going to have to, because if there is an outbreak, there's liability, and then you have a whole business shut down because they have to at least minimize spread. They have to be in quarantine, and there's the stop of that business for 2 weeks. That's the plan. You just can't keep staying open if somebody's infected. Customer, employee, doesn't matter. So here's the deal. You want to really, really limit the duration and the intensity of your exposure, because at the end of the day, it's all about the probability of riskier encounters. So if you have a riskier encounter, that is what you want to minimize. So again, let me go through the 3 big questions. Is this event, shopping activity, dinner, whatever, indoors or outdoors? Outdoors being safer. 2, what's the proximity to employees and customers, with the idea that we want to be looking for 6 feet or more for distancing. And then 3, how much time is this going to entail? Shorter being better. Okay, so in the event you go into a business, okay, and this is what I encountered and on social media, observing this soap business. The first thing before you enter a business is you want to look for, 1, are the employees wearing masks? Number 1, all staff members should be wearing masks. So if they are not, like the soap business, hard pass, okay? 2, are employees sitting at least 6 feet from each other? So I'm just thinking of my cell phone, actually, I need to get a new hard cover for my phone, like it's the protective cover so that the actual glass of my iPhone doesn't break. That's really in bad shape. And usually I go into Verizon. And I'm just thinking about like the way our Verizon store is set up. They have their desks and they have social distancing already in place. But maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe, you're going into a convenience store and you've got 2 checkouts. Well, there's no social distancing in between the checkouts. So, are those employees staying 6 feet away from each other? 3, is there hand sanitizer or any way for both workers and customers to easily clean and disinfect their hands? So one of the things you want to be seeing is you want to be looking out for, I know that not all businesses are going to have the force of nature, and they aren't always going to have, the hand sanitizer, which plays into some of the other things that we can talk about. But you want to be sure that there's some sort of methodology, like every shopping center, every grocery store always, or should have it fully filled. And I've encountered where our Fresh Market and even our Sprouts will run out of those like little sanitary wipes. But for sure, you want to see those at the counter, at the entrance. You want to see them periodically throughout the store. You want to for sure see them at the counter. And you also want to observe and see if they're cleaning the spaces. So the conveyor belt's a real big, COVID-19 carrier. Cleaning, the keypads and the swipe, credit card machines. The other thing that you want to look for is, are there enough customers that all can remain at least 6 feet apart? So in this enclosed space, for example, I'm going to use the soap vendor. I won't name their name, but I just got riled. Soap vendor, new vendor, they've got loose soaps. They're not even packaged up. So anybody with their, grubby hands can touch these soaps that customers can then buy and take home and bathe in. Oh, joy. But they had maybe 700, 800 square feet. So there's an equation, and I learned this yesterday in talking with our principal of Gabriel School. There's an equation of what square footage you want to have allocated per individual in a business space. I didn't dig into the data with her, but I'm going to find that out. I promise I'm going to do my digging and find out what that looks like. I have not seen anything coming out for sure by the CDC that highlights what that looks like, but it might be somewhere else in some journals and details. But that's really critical when you start to think, okay, so if you have a small boutique and it's 700 square feet, there are 8 or 10 people, and you have 2 customer service reps or, workers. That's a lot of people, and that might not really be enough for everybody to be 6 feet apart. Given that there's going to be big units where you've got shopping and there's checkout and, there's stuff that's going to block some of that square footage. So that's something to think about. And if you observe or notice that you cannot maintain 6 feet away from another customer or an employee, you should remove yourself from that environment. And so those are some guidelines. Those really are 7 questions you want to ask yourself as you start to re-enter regular life. And this also is one of the things that you can assess, I know New York is opening up the facilities where you can go, Home Depot and Lowe's, where you can go and get things for your yard work. Because a lot of us are doing yard work and gardening. There's actually a new study, gardening is good for your mood and mental outlook, partially because I think some of the flower remedies that we're getting and observing. But that's something that is really, I want us to start thinking about that. And I'm putting this out there for all of you because many of you are like me, we're not going anywhere. But some of you can't not do that. And so as you are going through your day, you're working, start to observe and start to ask yourselves these questions. Stephanie Ferbert, $5 live super chat. Yay. Thank you, Stephanie, for the $5. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yay, made my morning. I appreciate that. And everybody who's contributed, I'm grateful. So IC 2009 BA says under the federal government guidelines, 8x8 space regulation for federal employee space. So 8 square feet by 8 square feet is the kind of zone. Is that what they're saying? I appreciate that. So, June 12, 1776, science is all about disagreement of theories, but to sling hate is wrong. Totally. And to some degree, there's, science that's data and empirically driven. You can't run from the numbers. There's a lot of theories, but you also go through the scientific process. And we are constantly evolving. We're constantly learning more. If science didn't evolve, we'd think our world was still flat. So there's obviously evolution and thought and theories. Okay, so the big thing to consider is, there's a big difference in your exposure risk sitting down at a restaurant versus grabbing, something really quick at like the hardware store, or shopping outside at the garden center at Home Depot. That space is open for the most part. There's a lot of social distancing to play in. Now they have the ability, you can check yourself out, so you don't even have to come in contact with an employee. That's different. Oh, YouTube's buffering again. That's very different than setting up and eating a sit-down restaurant, for Italian restaurant. So YouTube is fully buffered. Craziness. Okay. So I hope this makes sense. Sorry, YouTube, you guys buffered for about a minute there. It's been doing this for a while. Okay, so let's see here. My life part _3. Most of us complained about the old. So now is a chance to create a new normal. Absolutely. There's just different ways to look at it, and, a mental switch, and just having more discipline with wearing masks. It's a routine. And I think that's why having more than a pair and a spare is helpful. You have them in your purse, your car, at your front door, all the places where you want to grab and go. So it's convenient. It just becomes part of it. My sister, don't put up with when you respond to feed the beast. Yeah. So they've been rubbing me the wrong way lately. Partially, I feel like I put a lot of work into these live shows, and then all I hear are complaints, which is really annoying. So, Christine, husband's government agency job, no mask being worn, only workers who have to function go in though. Okay, well, that's good. See, that's really disappointing. I mean, it's just insane that the government agency should be adhering to other government agency guidelines. I mean, that break is just mind-blowing to me. And you are going to have to evaluate your risk factors. X Bluebells, what is hard is that it only takes one mistake. We ordered groceries, but when my husband received them, he forgot he was not wearing a mask. And to that point, like I have them, I put my little message, drop at the door, don't ring the doorbell. That's a big factor. Our UPS guy has not figured that out. He loves all my snacks, but I'm just going to have to put up another note. I'm like, I'll post a note on the snack, be like, please stop ringing the doorbell. The dogs freak out at 4:30 every time he pops by, which is fewer and fewer. I'm not ordering as much as I had in the beginning, just to kind of get us all established to be at home. And so like Pat says, Ron works for the federal government and a mask is required. So that disjointedness just doesn't make any sense. Let's see. My doctor asked if I wanted him to wear a mask. I was like, really? You have to ask. See, that's another thing. Deb W, I ordered the electrolyzer. It will be here soon. Yay, you ordered the Force of Nature. This is such great stuff. And they've had a price reduction and they've got the May discounts happening. So I believe I have those posted in the description box below. Do take advantage of that. You know, I've had to order a whole bunch of new of the liquids. I also happen to have had some of the cleaning items from my facility and ordered a few more, like the Citrus Magic and Citrus 2, which is kind of a hospital grade cleaner. But this we use all the time, and it cleans everywhere, anywhere. It's fantastic. How many times can you use a disposable mask, and do they have to be sanitized first? That's an excellent question. So I actually am going to be doing a specific edited video about sanitizing masks and using sanitization tools. But you can, so like the cloth ones, and I don't think I have mine here. I think I was using it the other day. I was going to show you my mask that Sarah made. One of the things with the cloth ones, the ones that have been sewn by an individual, what I love about those is you can wash them. And so you can have, you know, like I have, I think 10 that we have and some for Gabriel. But the other thing too is, you know, the disposable masks, depending on what type it is, you know, I have some N95s coming from my clinic setup. Those you can actually sanitize, and even the surgical masks, they can be sanitized and reworn. So depending on what type of mask and the material, but you can put it in a UV sanitizer. Nancy, we appreciate all of your time and efforts for valuable info, live shows. The haters are not interested in facts and learning how to protect themselves. That's right. My shopper delivered groceries without a mask. So X Bluebells, what I've done is I have outside a whole kit. It's not a kit, but it's just like I've piled up some old suitcases and made it like a little station. And I have snacks and I have gloves, goggles, hand sanitizer. So they basically buy the stuff for themselves, and I've ordered some. Also, like Aaliyah sells this. You can buy this online. I deliver that, gloves and masks. So I have surgical masks. I actually found another box. I was so excited upstairs in my closet. And I put them out there, and I just put out like, please take, and they do. And that's the one thing we can't rely on the shopping companies to deliver that to them. And if anything, I want my regulars to have those items and know that I'm a house where they can get those. And you know, it might be like $3 or $4, $5 or $6 if you add up, if they grab a pair of gloves, the mask, you know, sanitizer and a snack. That could be about $10 outlay for us. But my $10 is definitely well served, not just for myself, but our whole entire community. If I can help keep our community and our neighborhood safe by supplying our mail carrier, mask, gloves, sanitizer, and snacks weekly, then that is a worthy investment. And our health is worthy of that. That's less than a copay to go see a doctor or to do a virtual chat. And I just weigh it that way. I just think, you know, you can't always expect people to do that. The other thing too is some of these delivery workers, they need the money and they need these jobs, and they're in high risk jobs, and, you know, you can give to them. Awesome. And so, you know, if you're going to order yourself a mask or two, order a few extra. You know, think about those family members in nursing homes, any of those frontline workers that you have in your family. And then also for our essential workers, you know, our delivery carriers, they bring us everything we need. They're shipping stuff for me, for my business. And they're also bringing goods here for us to survive in our home. And it's really minor. I think I'll post again on Instagram, but I call it my essential worker challenge, my hashtag essential worker challenge. But I really feel like if you can equip them with some of those little goodies, and it's minor, even like my handies, I've put these out there for them as well. And, you know, they'll some just grab snacks, and others will grab, and they're very methodical. They're very, you know, like I'll have 10 or 12 items out there, and it's not like it's getting picked off. And so people are taking what they need. It's a nice honor system. Okay, so let's see here. Wondering that myself, I go to the laundromat. Okay. Darlene says people adjust to new ways or they will be angry the rest of their lives. Yeah. And the anger that's hormonal imbalance. That's liver imbalances. Phyllis, I have a job where you have to touch people. We open on Monday. In our staff meeting, we're told masks are recommended but not required. It hurt my heart. I know that just, so my question is, when was your staff meeting? Was it before or after the CDC put out their guidelines? Because you might have the opportunity, let me pull these. You might have the opportunity to print, and these were posted from yesterday. At least the work there is this one pager. There's a workplace COVID-19 kind of guideline. And on here, like the big thing is, that are recommended is promote health hygiene practices such as hand washing, employees wearing a cloth covering as feasible. That as feasible is going to be the gray area that people like your particular company, Phyllis, are going to interpret as, well, it's recommended but not required, because they didn't make it required on here. That's the problem with this document. So just do everything you can in your power to protect yourself. Eyewear. Don't forget the eyewear. And I know it's going to sound crazy. People are going to be wearing goggles. And out of everything that I have out in front, the least taken items are my goggles. But my grocery workers, they grab them because they're in the enclosed space. We know there have been a lot of deaths with the grocery workers. And actually, Kroger today, or I guess this weekend, they announced that they are cutting their hazard pay they're one of the biggest grocery chains. They have a lot of grocery stores underneath them. But they're cutting their hazard pay. So, the extra oomph, $2, $3, that goes a long way when it adds up. That's protective gear that they might be able to pay for out of pocket now gone. And the risk, they're doing normal grocery store, details. They didn't sign up to be fighting a virus or be frontliners for that matter. And they're talking about, the customers being angry, like I've witnessed and, been victim to. There are people who walk in there, they're like, I'm not wearing a mask. And, they're bold and yet it's just crazy. Okay. So, YouTube's been buffering a lot. Okay, so Mrs. God's Nubian Queen would help if it is listed a lot of talking, not fully organized to my preference. Okay, well, this is a live show. It's not edited, and that's part of the beauty of a live show. So you're probably best off watching some of my more edited content, but I'll tell you, to be honest with you, as my schedule has changed, my way of being able to easily deliver information to all of you is via the live format. I don't have to edit it. And I don't have a 4-year-old going, mommy, 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 and it takes a lot of effort to edit. So I welcome you to watch. You can fast forward on the replay. But it is not, it's not going to be totally organized. And I do feel like it was organized though. I have notes I go through every day. So I just don't turn on and start blabbering away. But I appreciate that commentary. I think also people don't realize how involved it is to just do a live show and to also manage contents and try to be as responsive, which I want to thank Pat for being our moderator. But yeah, it is, I have a lot of couch critics. So I'd love for you to do one and see how easy it is to be organized while seeing questions coming up and trying to stay on topic. So anyway, X Blue Bells, I ordered from Instacart, but they deliver without a mask and my husband forgot his. Yikes. Yes. So that is the one thing I sometimes I will even, in the beginning, I was commenting, asking the Instacarters to wear a mask or gloves, especially on delivery, just saying we had an immunocompromised family member, which That is very true. So X-Blue Bell shouldn't be required for Instacart delivers to wear a mask. It should be. But again, according to now these CDC guidelines, it's, where feasible. I will say Uber's requiring it. Like Uber's taken, this is again where it starts at the head down. So leaders of companies who are taking this kind of stance I am, it's non-negotiable. So mask wearing is required by both employees of Uber and consumers of Uber. If you don't want to wear a mask, then you are not going to be a consumer of Uber, and they have every right to deny you service. And that's what they've put out. And I think it's probably a little easier for an Uber driver to do that. You can just pick, if they see someone not wearing masks, they can just peace out and drive away, or have a conversation with somebody, and there's less risk than this poor Target employee getting her arm broken, or a cashier at a cigar shop getting punched in the face 3 times. They can't run anywhere. And who are these crazy people doing that? Doing bodily harm to other people? It's insane. Okay, so my first hard frontline living empirical evidence is different, but we have to listen and understand our frightened fellow Americans. Staff meetings were a couple of days ago. We'll have masks that are available. I think most therapists will wear them, but I was the only person in my meeting with a mask on. Oh, yeah. So here's the other thing. You just lead by example. What will start shaking people up is we do expect, and we know from the epidemiological forecast, we are going to have a rise. That's just going to happen. It's part of it. And, I want to make a comment. I get lots of people commenting, Sweden's working. Sweden actually has the highest death rate per capita of cases. So the individuals who get it die of it. It's not a success. They have, almost 30,000 cases, maybe even more. That is not an example to say, oh, it's working. And that tends to be the one community that people, are arguing that it's working. I will say that they are wearing masks. So that's one aspect. We also do know from last week's video about vitamin D, they have higher vitamin D level. Their diet and lifestyles are very different than, for say, the sad American diet. But the other thing too is I think we'll just have to lead by example, and you stay strong, Phyllis. Luckily as a therapist, I'm imagining you have your enclosed space. I'm going to be doing a video about how to equip your business spaces for safety, your cubes and, all your kind of what you want to have on hand in order. And so that's something I think that will also be helpful. Powell says, goodness gracious, people, please share kindness. It's not that difficult. Yeah, it's okay. I always have a live show critic. It is what it is. Okay. Yeah, the arguments about a mask, it is pretty crazy. I don't know how big Sweden is. I mean, obviously the quantity of individuals who live in Sweden is a lot less than America, but you can't run around the fact that their per capita death rate is the highest out there, regardless of the quantity of people that live there. Okay, so let's see. Our salons are not open. Oh, hey, Lois, Hawaii. But are considering opening by appointment only, mask required, and no blow dry services. And that's another thing. The questions that would you go to a restaurant? No, I would do takeout though. We haven't. I still am not comfortable with takeout. I don't trust my fellow takeouters. And I've just seen a lot of businesses just not adhere to the social distancing guidelines. We'll probably venture out. I haven't been in a car in 10 days. So I think I need to move my tires, or I'm going to have some issue with my tires. So we'll kind of take a look at it. Dr. Melissa, is it okay to do laundry in a community laundry? It depends on what type of laundry. We used to have them in South Tampa that were outdoor. I mean, really hot, very uncomfortable. But I would for sure sanitize everything, and run everything on the hot cycle. So one of the things, heat needs to kill the virus. You might have viral particles from the previous launderer. All right, Instagram is going to go away, come back. Okay, so I just Instagram only lets me talk for an hour. Darn you. Okay, so let me get Instagram back up. But yeah, so on that note, let me just bring it back up real fast. We'll talk more about that. Hey, Instagram, welcome to part 2 of our live Saturday morning natural health news show, where I was answering a question about if it is okay to do laundry in a community laundromat. And so I had a few questions, what you want to kind of ask yourself, and I'll go back to my 7 questions. Is the laundromat indoors or outdoors? Yes or no? So if it's indoors, we have a live super chat. Let's see who's super chatting. Kate Jefferson, yay! We appreciate you, Dr. Melissa. Mwah, I appreciate you. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat. Made my morning. Yay! Thank you. So, that would be one thing, indoors or outdoors. Outdoor would be safer. Indoor has the risk of exposure. The other thing too is it's totally feasible that the previous launderer had, viral particles, and they run it at a cold or, slightly warm temperature that doesn't heat up to over 137 degrees Fahrenheit. And so that would be something that might be a factor with the laundry. But if you do dry your clothes, the dryer will heat up, and that is a way to kill the actual shedding, the cell of the virus. Deb W, my laundry is piled up, but I won't be using the laundry room. I totally understand that. Let's see. Anga, what about, okay, so we got that. I'm just wondering about the 7 questions is there a chance you could post those? I actually might be able to in a download. It might take me a little bit of time. And actually, I'm thinking about doing this just for my mental health. I'm thinking about taking a day off tomorrow and not doing a live show. I'll be honest with you, I'm very frustrated by some of the negativity that we've gotten from viewers, spammers. I need a little break. So that for me to do that, Rebecca, I can repost on the description box, but as for a download or anything like that, those take a lot of time to do. What do you think about renting through VRBO for a week getaway on the lake? That's an excellent question. I would want to assess, when was it occupied last? What's the cleaning process? Then I would probably have some portable cleaning stuff. For us personally, we're not going to be doing that, because last Mother's Day, or this, last week, I was supposed to sleep in, and Gabriel woke up at like 5 a.m. Okay, so here it's buffering again. So just stick with me, YouTube. Okay, so for renting a VRBO, there's a lot of risk factors there. You just have to kind of weigh your risk factors and weigh what you're willing to do to kind of clean, even before you kind of go in. I don't know. I think it's one of those, it's something you have to kind of weigh out. Pat says, take your force in nature. Absolutely. I'd be spraying this everywhere. And in a VRBO, you have to think to get through this. And so they've got rent, they've got mortgages. You might be getting a really great deal on those. But then, just kind of measure. And 2, if you're going to be on the lake, you're going to be outside. You might not be spending all your time in the home. What I wouldn't want to do is spend an excess amount of time in the home. Oh, my Amazon packages, 10 stuffs away. Okay, I love those messages. Let's see. No more than 2 people at a time and must be 6 feet apart. Let's see. What is the percentage of protection with the filter insert provided in compared to the N95 mask? So Natalie, the University of Nebraska actually did a pretty extensive study, I want to say 7 weeks ago now. And it was the second one that they did. They actually just assessed like all of these folks that were sewing and sending masks in. They just did a review of like, how effective are they? This type of mask, where it has a whole bunch of other layers, they're highly effective. And some of them even get up to N99. So N95, it's like 95%. Mark let's see. Mark Willia, 26. Your thoughts on air travel for 4th of July from Florida to PA? We are in our 60s. I'm grounding myself until probably next year. I am not too keen on the air travel idea, particularly because the air filtration. That would definitely be goggles for sure. Masks and goggles. The other factor we have to analyze is what carrier are you going through? American Airlines, JetBlue, and United, I believe, are not taking necessarily all the right precautions. So that would be something I would look at. And DebW, many companies will use UV lights to destroy germs. The airlines haven't gotten there yet. I know Boeing's taking the lead on the UV, self-sanitizing bathrooms, because that's where you want to be careful with would be bathrooms. And so like when you go out, I didn't make that comment before, but like if you go out to a restaurant or running an errand, use the restroom before you go out. You do not want to be in a position where you have to use a public bathroom. We just know that that is the germiest place, that in the cashier desk area. So, that would be something that, if it's absolutely not necessary, I wouldn't advise air travel. But if you guys are coming from Florida to PA, are you, snowbirds in Florida and you're now coming back home for the summer? I would rather drive, but then there's that aspect, because we actually have been kind of like, Brian has this idea for my birthday and I'm like, oh, no way. My birthday's at the end of July and I don't even feel comfortable planning it. Like he's really excited and I'm like, nope, I think let's just table everything for this year. If you drive, you've got rest stops, there are bathrooms. Those are definitely not, some states aren't even manning those. How safe is that? So I don't know. I don't know. I personally am not making that choice, for a multitude of reasons, but it's something you have to weigh out. What are you heading back for? Is it non-essential? I think is a big question. Is it essential or is it non-essential? Are you going back home or to PA because you have doctor's appointments or on, treatment plan or anything like that? Okay. So, and the other thing too, is if you can afford to, I would definitely upgrade to first class. You can have a little bit more room and then I would just sanitize. I would literally carry everything. I'd have a whole backpack full of stuff. And so, eyewear, mask, and then sanitizing, gloves for sure. I'd have like a different pair of gloves, a different mask and goggles for just the plane. And those would be ones I would just throw away. Because I wouldn't want to impact that. Thanks to see family, so non-essential. I am not confident about anything this summer right now, just given the fact that we are looking at, the numbers are not great. 100,000 deaths by June 1st. That's 2 weeks away. And then we have and Memorial Day weekend, the beaches are opening, some of the parks, the push to reopen Disney is really kicking in Florida, all the theme parks. That is summertime tourism for Florida. Florida is going to be rocked if they don't get the tax income as a state. So I understand the goal, trying to get reopening happening. I just don't know if we're doing it too fast when we still are seeing rates inclining. Florida is going to be at 40,000 soon. That's increasing. Okay. Bring your own stuff to wipe down, machine knobs, totally. Okay, Jill says, you are brilliant, caring individual. I enjoy your conversation type lives. When I can catch them, take time to relax and laugh. Yes, thank you. Let's see. I'm not quite sure. Varying red beard. Can we discuss hit by car but got COVID deaths? That's not really the topic here. And you're not going to get a fight here. So let's see here. Mom is using coffee filters and mask. I cut out vacuum cleaner bag for mine. I actually need to get these up online. I have several more than I intended on wearing. I'm still in lockdown. We'll be okay with it. It's a time frame. It might get annoying by the fall. And here's the thing: varying red beard, the numbers are not exaggerated. That's bogus. And so that is unfounded. In fact, they expect there will be more cases because there are people dying in their homes that have either been sent away from hospitals to convalesce at home. They've had it turn into the overwhelming cytokine storm that causes clots and pulmonary embolisms, and they're dying at home. And those numbers in some cases are not being reported, and some are. So I believe that we'll probably be seeing, when all is said and done, that we've underreported the numbers. And I think also we're hearing from pushback to CDC wanting to assess everything. We're already seeing a lockdown on not being able to get numbers about nursing home deaths. We're seeing decrease of the reporting in these meatpacking facilities. Everything leads to the opposite of the fact that we are over-reporting. So I just don't buy that. Vicky, do coffee filters work? So that's one thing. There are like the 5-layer carbon filter. That's probably your best line. I know that some people have said they've gotten black particulate and they've kind of noticed stuff's inhaling. I think the one thing that is going to be impactful will be, sorry, I'm just going to, I'm going to put somebody in timeout. Sorry, varying red beard. It's best if you go somewhere else because your BS is not going to stand itself here. I'll just block you if I have to. Okay. So, the layers of the filters are safer in this type of environment than they would be outside of it. Like I've had people say a fish filter, and that's a carbon filter, and that is all perfect. The idea is that 2 to 10 wears, and you can UV this as well. Tony, can someone please ask her what to do when having anxiety or panic attacks? You're free to ask yourself. I've actually done quite a bit on panic attacks and stress. Sal gave me a $9.99 live super chat. Yay, thank you. Yeah, I'm blocking some of those folks that just are a little out of control. So Sal, thank you so much. You're fantastic. I watch regularly and appreciate your expertise in all the areas of knowledge you share with us. Thank you. Yay, much happy love to you. I'm so grateful. So Jackie asks, what's your opinion on playing golf? So I actually told Brian I think he should play golf with his dad. This is one of those things where his dad's actually playing. They live on a golf course and he's retired. So that's like his daily thing. He's been playing with people he knows, and they've been socially distant. They also have certain social distancing measures happen there. They don't necessarily sink the hole anymore into the little divot. I'm not a golf player, so sorry. I don't even know if that's a term, golf player, but whatever. So the little flag's still there, but it's blocked off and there's like a donut around it. And so they just kind of do whoever gets closest to that, gets whatever points are calculating. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's outside and limit your golfing facilities. We're talking about just doing like groups of 2, that it will depend on the type of, club, if it's private or public, those ranges where they're like putting ranges and they're hitting, I don't know, they all line up and they hit the ball. We actually have one right down the road from us, and they've been full the whole entire time. And there's like, they line up everybody. They were not social distancing. Now they've got like a space in between each person teeing off. Okay, so this is buffering. Okay. No way. Worship time. Hi, doctor. I'm in New York and I work in a nursing home care center. Did positive for antibodies and I'm breastfeeding my 8-month-old baby. Should I keep breastfeeding? What's your input? Please help us. So that's an excellent question. And nobody's really gotten into postpartum and the breastfeeding factor, but I will tell you, our breastfeed our babies is so plentiful and keeping them healthy and well. There's a possibility that those antibodies will be transferred to your baby. And let's see, how old is the child? 8-month-old. Okay, so I think you're okay. This is just going on naturopath, but also adding again. Ugh, sorry, you guys. This is so annoying. Driving range. Yeah, that's what it's called. Okay, so it was buffering for a little bit. Yeah, it's still buffering. Hopefully it doesn't kick me out. But I would say breastfeeding, there's a likelihood, very high likelihood that you'll be transferring those antibodies, which could very well be a good thing. I haven't seen anything yet, but I haven't researched anything yet either about breast milk, breastfeeding, transfer antibodies. But that is definitely something that would be interesting. The best way to know your child's antibody test. I personally, I hate the idea of Gabriel having to give blood, but that might be the way to assess if your child has antibodies. Does antibodies mean you have full immunity? That's a big question mark right now. We don't know. But we do know, as I reported yesterday, I think the day before, the plasma transfers, the antibody rich plasma that is coming from newly recovered COVID patients is actually turning things around and is a potential part of our treatment. Oh my gosh, Lori. Lori says, a friend just got out of a COVID-19 coma since day one. Very, very slow progress. Wife and 7 kids. That's heartbreaking. I'm so glad he's out of it. And he will probably have a lot of health challenges his way, like diets and eating that. Do antibodies mean you're a carrier? Deb W, that's a good question. So antibodies mean you've had exposure and your immune system has created antibodies from that exposure. The question is whether you're a carrier. If she tested positive, then she'd be a carrier. But antibodies does not necessarily mean that you're a carrier. Now, you can have a situation where, because of the way the virus is, we know it runs a long period of time. The transmissibility, people have symptoms and are contagious. People are contagious before they have symptoms. And then you can have a slow reaction from your exposure to the point you test positive or start to have symptoms. So that would be one of those scenarios where you could technically test positive and have some antibodies. But it does sound like the antibody test was for a reason. And so those two things could happen. But yeah, antibodies generally would be good for the baby. Dwayne McClellan, I use a blue shop towel, folding in half and folding half again. So I have a 4-layer filter for my mask and I use it for one-time use. Awesome. I don't know what's going on with the audio. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Yeah, Instagram is kicking and I have no issues over on Instagram for some reason. And please give me a thumbs up if you guys are liking this content. Okay, so let's see. I tested negative for antibodies, though I was thought I was exposed in April. That's Jenny from the block. And you're up in New York too, Jenny, aren't you? Okay. Kay Jefferson says, I've put off getting an Instagram account. I need to set one up when your YouTube acts up. Yeah, absolutely. Instagram's great. We're almost at 10,000 Instagram followers. Ooh, so exciting. That's like the point where I can then swipe people off to my YouTube channel or to one of the things I highlight instead of you guys having to DM me. It's pretty exciting. So yeah, let's see. We can hear you, but comments are coming in slowly. Yeah, I don't know. I think Saturday morning probably is when a lot of people go live. So it's possible that just the platform is quite overwhelmed. Dwayne 63-year-old on second strep throat in 2 months. Oh my gosh, antibiotics again. ENT says don't do surgery. So Dwayne, I would add in, I'm looking to see, I don't even have it anywhere in here. I would add in an oral probiotic called it's or either oral probio, or it has what you want to do is you want to get a lozenge. It's an oral probiotic lozenge that you can suck on. It has salivarius, salivarius, which is, and there's 2 strains of salivarius. It's a particular type of bacteria that when it's low, you end up having strep throat. I lived as a young child with strep throat all the time, so much so they were going to take my tonsils out. But the oral probiotic will cut down the strep throat. I mean, literally, like overnight, it's going to kill the bacteria that is imbalancing and causing that to flourish. And more than likely, you've got some scar tissue, the swollen nature of the tonsils, and just the whole lymphatic system. So I would do that. That will totally help you. Okay, my little man just came downstairs, so I've got to get our mid-morning breakfast going. But I'm so glad you guys, and I want to thank all of you who are supportive of our live format, who are encouraging and positive, and might not necessarily agree with all the info, but are open-minded. I definitely want to assure you, you are going to find data, science, and backed information, as well as thoughtful resources to help you and your family be safe and well during the pandemic time, during reopening, and really to get everybody equipped and empowered to be well during the season. So that's my mode of my MO here. That's why I do these shows. And it's always great to see all of our favorite friends and Christine and Lori, P and Pat and LF and Anaga and Nancy and Jana. I'm so grateful, Kay Jefferson, and for all of our live chatters, all of the folks that are commenting. You guys are a community that we've built, and you guys are supportive of each other, and I'm so proud of that. And for Sal, for your $9.99 contribution to our live show this morning, as well as Kay Jefferson, $9.99. I'm so grateful. You guys are so wonderful in supporting my efforts here. And so Pat and Ron, thank you for your moderation. And Jackie and everybody, Deb W, and all of you friends on Instagram, please have a great, safe day. Tomorrow, I'm taking the day off. So I'm going to experiment with a Sunday free of a live show. I'm going to wear my new purple robe and hopefully sleep into like 8 a.m. All right, you guys, have a great day. Enjoy your Saturday. And I'm going to be working in my garden today. So I'll show you some of my seedlings that I'm sowing. If you guys are gardeners, I am going to really do a lot of work on the garden this weekend. So stay tuned. Instagram, lots of fun live stories coming your way. And thanks again for all of you. I'm so grateful. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. And I will see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. Yay. See you later. Bye, YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in.